They say we are what we eat. And when we eat healthy, we stay healthy. But the handling, preparing, and storing of food is equally important to our overall health. And with this COVID-19 pandemic, we need to stay in the best shape possible. And while there's no evidence to prove that COVID-19 is indeed transmitted through food, we can't go wrong with maintaining good hygiene practices. Our behavior and habits play a crucial role in reducing our risk of getting foodborne diseases. Today, we'll let you in on what we know about food safety in this time of the pandemic and beyond. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez. Welcome to MedTalk Health Talk. Joining us on the program are Dr. Jaifed Christian Lopez. He's a public health doctor and faculty at the UP College of Public Health. We also have culinary instructor Chef Renzi De Jesus. It's good to have you both on the show. Now, almost 1 in 10 people in the world get sick after eating contaminated food. Ngayon, Chef Renzi, while working in the food industry, have you experienced anyone getting sick from this? Dapat ba concerned ang mga viewers natin kung saan sila kumakain o saan nila nakukuha yung pagkain nila?
This is very important for the people to know kung paano nila kinakain at saan nila kinukuha yung pagkain nila. So mostly all of the foodborne illness dito po nanggagaling in preparation and serving of the food po.
Okay. Now, how about for Doc Jim? Let's talk about foodborne diseases naman. Napakarami nito, no? But what are these and what are the most common ones na lang para sa ating mga viewers? At anong mararamdaman nila kapag ang isang tao ay naapektuhan ng isang foodborne illness?
Okay, so foodborne illness is basically, resulta yan ng contamination ng pagkain. And that contamination can enter into the food in various ways. It can enter, for example, from the perspective of the one eating it himself or herself. Kung hindi sila nakapaghugas ng kamay ng mabuti, of course, that can affect their capacity to take in the infections that would be caused by bacteria. So meron tayo, for example, Staph aureus, E. coli, or coliform bacteria. That would definitely point towards either may hindi nagugas ng kamay or of course to a higher level can be a result of poor sanitation.
Now, kay Chef Renzi naman, to reduce the chances of food contamination, what are ways para yung mga pagkain natin ay hiwa-hiwalay at ma-lessen ang chances ng contamination?
Yes, Doc. Firstly, yung knowledge natin, because most of the people don't have the proper knowledge storing their food. So first is the cross-contamination. So in cross-contamination is preparing the food from fresh or raw food na madidikitan ng mga ready-to-eat food. So mostly yung raw food kasi hindi pa natin naluluto, nandun yung mga bacteria. So once madikit natin ito, like for the salads, mga ready-to-eat food, once ma-consume ng tao, doon nagsisimula yung mga bacteria.
Now, many different disease-causing germs can contaminate food. So almost everyone has an upset stomach after eating something contaminated. And it makes them either sick or very sick. Now, Doc Jim, you mentioned earlier what causes some of these foodborne illnesses. But what exactly happens to a person's body? Bakit sila nagkakaroon ng mga ganitong simptomas na hindi maganda maramdaman?
That's a good question since our body is quite smart Kasi pag naka-recognize siya ng something na mukhang wait lang, parang hindi ito yung sanay kong nakikita sa pagkain. May ganong isip ang ating digestive system that would enable it to recognize a certain kind of pathogen in the food that would trigger it to either be expelled by the digestive system. So for example, meron tayong mga bacteria na kung saan kapag sila ay nakapag-interact sa ating small intestine, for example, it will trigger cramps, stomach cramps. It can also trigger increased transport ng fluid dun sa ating binubuong dumi, and therefore that would result in diarrhea. And of course, it can also mount a kind of response na kung saan subukan gawin ng pagkatawan lahat ng kaya niyang gawin para matapos or mapatay yung bacteria. So pwedeng magtaas siya ng temperature and that can cause fevers.
Now, Doc Jim, there are also illnesses that come from contaminated liquid. Now, what are the factors that can contribute to these waterborne diseases naman?
It's actually related to the way in which we maintain our water systems. Kasi hindi lahat tayo ay pare-pareho ng sistema ng pag-imbak ng tubig as well as yung kung paano natin siya kinukuha. So for example, kung nasa isa kayong lugar na medyo hindi okay ang piping system, hindi kayo masyado sure kung ligtas siya na hindi napapasukan ng tubig kanal or tubig na galing sa Poso Negro, then therefore medyo kailangan siyang siguraduhin. Kung nasigurado mo na you are in an establishment na talagang they are able to certify their water sources very frequently, very regularly, then there will be a lesser risk that you will be getting waterborne illnesses.
Food and waterborne illnesses are common, and most of the time, they just go away on their own and are largely preventable. But sometimes, it could be life-threatening. Dr. Jim, so when does one need to see a doctor when they experience the more common symptoms we mentioned earlier, at paano ito ginagamot?
In those cases, there's fever, usually more than 3 days. Tapos diarrhea is more than 3 days, na kung saan even if nag-take ka ng oral rehydration salts or even yung mga ating mga mapatigil ng diarrhea, wala pa rin, we're still continuing. And of course, you have apparent signs of dehydration na talagang na dry na yung skin, and of course, nanghihina na yung patient and sobrang persistent ang stomach ache. So those are signs that we will have to reconsider so that we can bring the patient already to proper medical attention.
Another thing to consider is if you have food poisoning, which results in diarrhea or vomiting, and your doctor will emphasize that staying hydrated is key. But water is just part of the solution. You will need rehydration solutions, which are special fluids that give your body salt and water. We're taking a quick break. When we come back, the steps we can take to prevent foodborne illnesses, especially during this pandemic. More in just a moment. You're watching Med Talk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. This is Med Talk Health Talk. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez. Proper handling of food is key to preventing foodborne illnesses. Now, this question is for Chef Renzi. Chef, what do you do to make sure you keep food safe?
First, we have the 4 C's that we call in industry. So first C is to clean. So this means na dapat naguhugas tayo ng kamay before and after natin humawak ng pagkain. Then the second C will be the cross-contamination. Nakukuha yan sa pag-cross-contaminate ng food. So paano natin nakukuha po yan? So unang-una isa sa chopping board lang po. Yung paggamit natin ng chopping board na isang chopping board lang which is nakakasanayan natin sa bahay natin. So mali po yun. So ang tama po is dapat may mga chopping board na para sa kanya-kanyang pagkain. Kaya po siya may mga kulay tulad ng green is para sa vegetables at sa prutas. So para hindi po nahalo ito sa ibang pagkain. Lalo na ang green is fruits and vegetables is mostly ready to eat. So like the red one naman is yung red ginagamit natin sa mga meat yan. Mostly yung raw meat. So dyan natin hinihiwa yung mga meat natin sa red na chopping board. Then next is the yellow one which we use for the poultry. So yung poultry which is famous na nagbibigay ng salmonella na sakit. So yun, kaya may iba-ibang chopping board. And mostly pagkagamit mo ng kutsilyo or ng ear knife, after using it, you have to wash it right away para yung mga germs na nandun or yung bacteria ma-wash away then before you using it for the other food. And the next is to cook. So we have to cook the food properly. So we make sure that the proper temperature, yung internal temperature ng food na reach natin, especially for chicken. We don't cook chicken half cooked. Okay? So dito rin nag-create ng bacteria, yung salmonella. So kaya pag hilaw pa yung manok, wag natin kainin. Okay? So we make sure that all the foods are cooked properly. Okay? Then the last is the chill. So how you properly chill or how do you properly store your food. Kaya dapat pag nag-store tayo ng pagkain, alam natin yung proper storage. Sa taas na taas is yung ready-to-eat food para sure tayo na hindi siya babagsakan ng kung anumang bacteria galing sa ibang pagkain. And the last tray should be yung mga hilaw na pagkain kung saan may tendency na pwedeng tumulo yung mga juices from it.
Now, the risk of getting sick with COVID-19 from eating or handling food and food packages is considered very low. Doc Jim, can you tell us more about this?
So actually, viruses will need a living host so that it can proliferate at saka para makadulot siya ng sakit. It will rely on your personal protection, which means na kailangan maghugas tayo ng kamay palagi and that we are not putting anything near our faces na hindi tayo nakapaghugas ng kamay. And I think that will still be the important things you have to consider. So it's not really the food per se that will cause COVID-19.
So our best advice to you, if you have symptoms of COVID-19, it's best to isolate yourself in your home. Call your doctor and discuss your symptoms. The sooner, the better, of course. Ngayon, Dr. Jim, as a public health specialist, what are some of the advice that you can give our viewers when it comes to safety and food handling, as well as storage, that all of our viewers should be observing, especially during this time?
Ensure that we have proper sanitation. So that would mean personal as well as also ensuring that we have a safe water source. I would also say na in terms of storing our food is also important also to separate yung ating mga pagkain na sinostore sa loob ng ating mga ref. Be conscious of the temperature since naglagay nga tayo sa loob ng ref pero hindi naman at the safe temperature. So we have to ensure, for example, our freezers are working optimally. So that will be, ang ideal temperature natin is negative 18 degrees Celsius until 4 degrees Celsius. Kasi pag umakit na tayo from 4 to 60 degrees Celsius, yun yung tinatawag naming danger zone in which if you are storing food in that kind of temperature, there is a high risk of proliferating bacteria or any contaminants that can eventually cause foodborne illness.
And as a reminder to our viewers, mas madali pong mag-prevent ng foodborne illnesses at food poisoning kesa gamutin kapag kayo ay naapektuhan nito. And all types of food can cause food poisoning if not properly handled. But some foods are prone to harmful bacterial growth. Kaya naman, dapat mas mag-ingat pa. We'll explain this after a short break. You're watching Med Talk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. There are food items that support the growth of bacteria more than others, in which case they are considered high risk and need to be cooked and stored properly. Chef Renzi, ano-ano yung mga pagkain na ito, itong mga high risk na food?
Meron po tayong tinatawag na mga high risk food. Ito po yung mga raw food natin. First high risk food are the dairy products. So ito po yung mga mabilis kapitan ng bacteria. Ano po ba yung mga dairy products na ito? Eggs, milk, cheese, so lahat po ng galing sa dairy products. Yan po yung mga mabilis masira. Sunod po is yung eggs, mabilis rin po kapitan ng bacteria yung eggs natin. Then yung mga raw meat po, mabilis rin siya kapitan ng bacteria, kaya kailangan itong mga sinatawag nating high risk is maluto agad or ma-store properly.
Okay, now Doc Jim, baka maraming tao ang nahihinayang kapag kailangan itapon ng isang pagkain. Pero what can happen kapag ang isang tao ay nag-consume ng isang high-risk food na expired or panis na?
Ang problema kasi is the contamination of food is not readily hindi mo siya kaagad ma-realize . Ma-realize mo lang siya kung nagkasakit ka na. Kasi ang misconception, ang very common misconception is maaamoy mo. Maaamoy mo siya lagi or matitikman mo. Pero by then na tinikman mo na, it's too late. Na-contaminate ka na. Hindi talaga safe yung matagalang inilagay mo siya sa chiller at hindi mo siya i-freeze. Kung for example, ulam siya. Kapag ulam kasi na nilagay mo sa chiller, as much as possible, within 3 days na konsumo na yon. Otherwise, if it goes beyond 3 days, there is a higher risk, increasing risk that it will eventually be contaminated despite all the food safety guidance that you've used in cooking that food.
Ngayon, kung may high-risk foods, meron ding mga low-risk foods. Now, generally, low-risk foods don't need to be refrigerated until opened and tend to be high in sugar, salt, and low in water content. Now, Chef, what are some of examples naman nitong mga low-risk foods?
Some of the examples of this are the fresh fruits and vegetables. We have the breads. Most baked goods are low risk. Then yung mga candies, yung mga pickles, yung mga binuburo natin sa vinegar, and yung mga jams and preservatives. These are the low risk food. But still, we have to be aware. Sometimes meron tayong sa bahay na natatago na alam nating low risk food but hindi natin alam sa sobrang tagal na ano na pala, inamag na yung loob nito. So we should be aware of this. So doon nagsisimula yung foodborne illness. Okay? So doon nagsisimula yung bacteria natin.
When we go out, or what should our viewers look out for whenever they shop for food when it comes to safety, good preparation, and good handling of foods when it comes to buying them?
Okay, when buying foods, first for the raw foods, sa mga fish, of course, we should make sure that yung binibili natin pong isda ay fresh. For the meat naman po, we have to check it and smell it rin po. Ganun din po. But mostly, yung mga meats na binibili natin na sa palengke are matagal na siya naka-display. Check po natin mabuti kung ano po yung mga binibili nating meat sa palengke na naka-display. So if I were to buy, mostly I will buy it from the reputable suppliers po. One more thing is pag bumili tayo, make sure na hindi pa thaw out yung frozen goods. Kasi pag nag-thaw out na po yun or na-defrost na, ibig sabihin, yung bacteria nag-start ng kumapit doon. Now, second thing is we have to check out the expiry date for the ibang pagkain naman po. Yung expiry date is important or the best before date. So kung nakabili po tayo nito ng best before date, dapat po medyo mahaba-haba pa. And lastly, when we buy fruits and vegetables, dapat po kainin agad natin or we make it a habit na hugasan po agad to. Na after pagkadating sa bahay, hugasan, then tsaka natin store. Huwag natin store agad kasi it can contaminate some of the food na pwede na itong matabihan. Especially yung mga fruits and vegetables po is galing sa lupa. So yung lupa po, mas maraming bacteria itong na-intubulot.
Now, food safety is very important from handling to the preparation and the storage of the food. Let's spare the family from having food and waterborne illnesses while these can be treated or prevented. Now, some types can be more serious and life-threatening. And with that, we'd like to thank our guests for today, Dr. Jaifed Christian Lopez, a public health doctor, and culinary instructor, Chef Renzi De Jesus. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez. Be well, everyone, and stay safe. Thank you for watching MedTalk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare.